Since it is January 3rd, 2013, I do my top 12 books of 2012. I've seen a lot of people do this video, so I thought it would be a good first video to do. So let's get started. So number 12 is All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria Remarque. And I'm sorry about the whole flippage of the video. There's not really much I can do about that right now because I'm just filming on my laptop and I don't know how to flip. So if y'all can help me with that, that would be fantastic. But it says on the little subtitle, the greatest war novel of all time, and I'm pretty sure, I haven't read many war novels. I also read The Things They Carried this year for school, and I read this for school as well, but this was really, really, really good. It just gets into all the nitty-gritty details about war and soldiers, and I really liked the main character, Paul Boehmer. He's a German, which I thought was a really cool perspective because we don't really get a lot of that perspective during World War I. But it was really, really good, heartbreaking, just, oh, the ending was just so good, and I've seen part of the movie too, and it was good, but the book is amazing. Number 11 I don't actually have with me because I read on my Kindle, but it is The Boy and the Striped Pajamas. I don't know the author's name, sorry about that, but it was so good and so sad, so heartbreaking. Most of the books on my list seem to be really heartbreaking because they just stick with you the most. Oh, so sad. Actually, I watched the movie before I watched the book, and the movie was somehow even sadder than the book, and oh my gosh, I have never cried so hard in a book or a movie before. Just so good, so sad. Number 10 is also on my Kindle. It is The Girl Who Played with Fire by Stieg Larsson. And I liked this better than the first one, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, because it was a lot more action-packed and it got really right into it. Because I feel like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it took a while to really get into it. Because I was on my Kindle, it was 25% before I really, really started to feel the action and before I was really pulled into the story. Number 9 is also on my Kindle, and it is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. That actually came out in 2011, but I read it this year and in January, and oh my goodness, incredible. It's been called like the adult Twilight, but it is about a million and bajillion gazillion times better than Twilight. Witches, vampires, were there werewolves? I don't know if there were werewolves, but it was so good. It incorporated a lot of historical facts into it, and there was romance and action, and at times it got a little bit confusing, but it was so good. And I read the sequel too, Shadow of the Night. Not as impressed, I have to say, but I'm excited for the third one coming out next year. I'm really excited. Number 8 is Mark of Athena by Rick Riordan, also on my Kindle. It is the third book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and it's the spin-off series from Percy Jackson. Oh my goodness. I love Percy and Annabeth so much. And the ending was just, oh, Rick, why do you do that to us? Now I have to wait a whole nother year before it comes out. Oh, just, oh my gosh, just so many emotions, so many. Number 7, I actually borrowed from the library, so I don't have it with me because I read it in the summer, and it is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And I was really not expecting to like this book very much. It won the Pulitzer Prize, and I think the only other Pulitzer Prize winning book I've read was The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, which I was not that impressed with. But this book blew me away. The format, when I first looked at it, was just, I wasn't really sure, but it was great. Great characters, great story, another heart-wrenching plot. So sad, but it's so great. So, so, so great. And the movie was really good too. Just so, so good. Number 6, I actually have in hardback, yay! Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And I normally don't like the movie cover, but this is the only cover they had at Barnes & Noble, and I normally just wouldn't have bought it. I would have borrowed it from a friend. But, oh, that's awkward. But, it's signed by Stephen Chbosky himself. And that was kind of the best day of my life because he gave me tips on writing and answered a bunch of questions and read an actual letter from the book, and he wrote the movie and directed the movie, and it was just, it's one of those books that you have to read multiple times because the first time I read it, I thought it was good, but I didn't love it. And then I started rereading it and I was just blown away by it because it really has anything and everything a teenager can ever deal with. And the characters, I love them. I love them all. And the movie was just so good, so well directed, so well written, so well cast. Can we talk about how Ezra Miller should win an Oscar for playing Patrick? Just so, so good. Every teenager, every person needs to read this book. Number 5 is Alive by Piers Paul Reed, and it is a true story about a team from Uruguay, a rugby team from Uruguay that crashes into the Andes. And did I say it was a true story? Because it's a true story. And they spend how many days? Yeah, 10 weeks later, they're rescued finally. And this book was just so good. This is also a movie, but I haven't seen the movie. There's no romantic elements. It's just story, and that just makes it the more gripping and more real and more captivating and more you can relate. Well, you can't relate, but you can feel what they're going through more because it's just facts and story, and that probably sounds really boring, but it was so good. And I read it really soon, or really quick. I read it really quick. It's really good, and I'm probably gonna give this a reread pretty soon because it was pretty inspiring and really, really, really good. Number 4, I borrowed from the library as well, and that is Crank by Ellen Hopkins. I read that as part of November Banned Book Month, and oh, it was so good. Once again, I think all of the books on this list are heartbreaking, but it was written in free verse poetry, and I didn't think I was gonna like that very much, but it went by really quickly. And with free verse, you're able to really get the characters' emotions more, and oh, it was so, so good. Yeah, it was just really good. It's about a teenager who becomes addicted to meth, and you think you can't relate to it, but you almost can, the way that Ellen Hopkins writes it. Number 3, I borrowed from a friend, and that is Saving June by Hannah Harrington. This was such a good book. It wasn't too sappy, it wasn't too cheesy, but it was just so, once again, heartbreaking. And I loved the musical elements and how there was a song for everything, and oh, it was so, so good. And I hope it gets made into a movie because I think it would make a really, really good movie. And I mean, who doesn't love road trip stories, awkward rooming situations, and stuff like that? Number 2, I also read on my Kindle, is The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker. This was released in the summer, and I kept reading in all the magazines and online and in papers and stuff about how good it was. So I decided to give it a try, and I was a little worried that it wouldn't live up to my expectations, but it did. It surpassed all of them. One day, the world just inexplicably slows down in its rotation, I believe, and it's told from the perspective of an 11-year-old girl and how she is just growing up and trying to live a normal life during a not so normal time. And it's really good, a great coming of age story, but it's more than a coming of age story. And finally, number 1, you can probably guess what it is. It's like number 1 on everybody's list, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Oh, I don't have it with me because a friend is borrowing it. That should tell you how good it is because so many friends have borrowed it. I read it at camp and loaned it to like 4 of my cabin mates. They all loved it. So many tears, so much laughter, so many emotions. One of my favorite books of all time. Alright, so that concludes my top 12 of 2012. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want more videos, subscribe. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Bye.